The title for today is Life is Not a Competition. This was something I heard in university as people were discussing their job. One person was talking about his job experience, then the other person seemed amazed, almost pressured to be like him. But he just casually replied, "Chill, it's not a competition." And that struck me hard. As someone who grew up struggling with this idea, it was somehow profound. I recall that in primary school, there was some test to find out who can be in the gifted program, or even Singapore's favorite exam, PSLE. Because of this, we are wired to compare ourselves with others from a young age. We want to have better grades, looks, or fitness compared to others. It is so easy to compare with others based on statistics, test scores, height, weight, and in the future amount of money. But when will the battle of comparison end? When you're the best in class, best in school, best in the country? It's a never-ending cycle that will leave you wanting more. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. And notice that you're basing your self-worth on how well you're doing compared to others. But don't you see how fragile your self-worth would be? Once people catch up to you, are you just going to feel useless? This is a very temporary way of basing your identity on. You will keep going from feeling great to feeling bad because of things outside of your control. A peaceful heart gives life to the body, but jealousy rots the bone. Now let's compare that to basing our identity on being God's follower. And I know some of you might think, oh, this again is something I ought to feel, but really consider basing your identity on God, who does not change, yet makes us valued as someone loved. Isn't that way better than what we discussed previously? Because your only other alternative is to base your identity on what you're good at. But what happens when that is gone? When you're no longer as athletic as you were before, is your life meaningless? If you're not as funny as you think you are with certain people, are you just considered useless? If you aren't academically inclined as others, does that mean you have no inherent value anymore? And I know that the world might see it that way, but God has created us in the image of Him, so we must have inherent value. That's why it is so much more comforting to place your worth on God. But the very relieving thing is to hear that actually, you don't have to view life as a competition. You don't have to place your self-worth on these statistics. I know it sounds cliche or corny, but life really is an individual journey where we are working in different directions. It might not seem like that for now because everyone your age is at the same time taking PSLE, then eventually O-levels or IB or A-levels. But I can tell you right now that once you enter NS or uni or even work, it's very obvious that you just work on your own thing. It's up to each individual to prioritize their work, social life, fitness, or even their hobbies. Even in uni, if you wish to study hard to attain amazing grades, sure, go ahead. If you wish to earn some money with a part-time job, which leads you to not having enough time to study hard, then sure. If you wish to carve out some time to help or serve others, then you can do that too. And look, we are all uniquely made. God has a different path for each one of us. That is why comparing with others is useless in the first place. 1 Corinthians 12 verses 12 to 25 talks about how we are different parts to the whole body of the church. This means that we have different functions, but we are still equally important in the entire body. That's why there's this famous quote said by my generation, which is, "Stay in your lane. Focus on your own life instead of looking over other people's lanes to see how you size up to them." Now, some of you might be competitive, it's in your nature, and I do believe that competition can breed excellence. If you really want a competition, then focus on being better than yourself yesterday. For example, I can't be in the gym always frustrated that I lift a lower weight compared to someone else, but I can work on lifting a higher weight than I did a month ago. This is me trying to hit a new personal high score compared to seeing how I stack up compared to others in the scoreboard that I conjure up in my own mind. Now, let's apply this to your walk with God. I would view it like this: become more Christ-like than you were in the past. And that is what we call constant sanctification, where we aim to become more mature in spirit. Now, don't get it twisted. Staying in your lane doesn't have to be as selfish as it sounds. It doesn't mean that I'm laser focused on my thing. If I see someone struggling, I still stay focused on myself. You can work on your own things. And when you have the capacity to help someone, it would be good if you could help them. We're still ultimately called to be loving to our neighbors, so let's not forget to assist others when we can. Share with the lost people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Also, something I recommend and I do when journaling daily is to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Because a heart of gratitude is a great heart to carry around when you're in the midst of grinding towards a certain goal. Unfortunately, we might be too focused on the next thing we wish to do that we forget how far we've come. I know that youths love using the slang W, which stands for wins. It is true that remembering the little wins you got here and there can help you feel less envious and realize, hey, God still gives me blessings even when life seems to suck. So let's summarize the points as we come to an end. Becoming envious is so easy because of how competitive our education system, or even our peers, or even the adults in society can be. But basing your worth on how you're doing compared to others leads to a very shaky foundation for your self-worth that can be shattered so easily. A way more stable foundation for your self-worth would be to base your identity on being a follower of God who doesn't change and loves you. Life is not a competition. You can do something different compared to others, and that's fine. We are just different parts of the body of the church. Life is not a competition, so just stay in your lane. Your only competition is your past self, so think about how to become more Christ-like. Life is not a competition, so help others while you can. And while in the midst of working towards your goal, remember to look at how far you've come. Remind yourselves of the blessings you've received along your walk. And perhaps I have said this phrase many times, life is not a competition, but it really needs to get hammered into your head, or else you'll become envious throughout your life, like most people your age. So, when you catch yourself being pressured by other people's progress, what can you say to yourself? It's not a competition. Life is not a competition.